Rainwater dripped steadily from the torn awning above the small grocery shop as Aisha hurried home after her evening shift. Her 10-year-old daughter, Mehak, waited alone most evenings, finishing homework at the tiny kitchen table while dinner simmered on the stove. Life had never been easy since Aisha's husband passed away, but she had learned to measure wealth in quieter things: warm meals, laughter, and the stubborn hope that tomorrow might be gentler. That evening, as she turned the corner near the bus stand, she noticed a man sitting on the pavement with a cardboard sign resting against his knees. His clothes were dusty, his beard untrimmed, yet something about his eyes seemed strangely familiar. When he looked up, recognition struck both of them at the same moment. "Arif?" she asked cautiously. He blinked, then gave a faint, embarrassed smile. "Aisha. I didn't expect anyone from school to recognize me." They had once been classmates in college, years before life pulled them in different directions. Back then, Arif had been quiet but brilliant, the kind of student professors remembered. Seeing him now, sitting in the rain, felt almost unreal. "What happened to you?" she asked softly. "Bad decisions, I guess," he replied, shrugging. "Lost everything." Aisha didn't have much herself, but she couldn't walk away. After a moment's hesitation, she said, "I can't offer anything fancy, but you can stay at our place for a few days. At least until you figure things out." Arif looked startled. "You're sure? I don't want to trouble you." "You won't," she said, though she knew her tiny apartment already felt crowded. Their two-room home sat on the third floor of an aging building. Mehak welcomed the guest with innocent excitement, insisting he take the only spare mattress. Over simple dinners of lentils and rice, Arif spoke little about his past, but he listened attentively to Mehak's stories and quietly helped with chores. Within days, he repaired a broken cabinet door, fixed the leaking tap, and even helped Mehak with mathematics she had been struggling to understand. Across the hall lived Samir, a widowed single father raising his teenage son. He often crossed paths with Aisha on the staircase, exchanging polite greetings that slowly grew into friendly conversations. Samir had spent years balancing factory work and parenting alone, and he recognized the same exhaustion in Aisha's eyes that he saw in his own reflection every morning. One evening, as they stood outside watching their children argue playfully over a cricket bat, Samir nodded toward Aisha's apartment. "The man staying with you, old friend?" "Classmate," she said. "He's going through a difficult time." Samir watched Arif through the open doorway, noticing the calm confidence in the man's posture, something that didn't quite match the image of a helpless beggar. "He doesn't seem like someone who has given up," Samir said thoughtfully. Aisha smiled faintly. "I didn't think so either." A week later, a sleek black car stopped outside the building, drawing curious looks from neighbors. A well-dressed elderly woman stepped out, scanning the area until her gaze settled on the stairway. She climbed the steps slowly, accompanied by a young assistant carrying a leather folder. When Aisha opened the door, the woman asked politely, "Is Arif here?" Aisha hesitated before stepping aside. Arif, who had been helping Mehak with homework, stood up the moment he saw her. For the first time since arriving, his calm expression shifted into something tense and uncertain. "You found me faster than I expected," he said quietly. The woman smiled with gentle relief. "Your grandfather is worried sick. The board has been calling nonstop." Aisha froze. "Bored?" Arif turned to her, clearly struggling to explain. "I was never homeless," he admitted. "At least, not in the way you thought. I needed to step away from everything for a while. My family owns several companies, and after my father passed away, I was pushed into responsibilities I wasn't ready for. I wanted to understand how ordinary people live, how decisions at the top affect those at the bottom. So I disappeared without telling anyone." Aisha felt a rush of conflicting emotions: shock, confusion, even a small sting of embarrassment. "You could have told me." "I wanted to," he said, "but if people knew who I was, they would treat me differently. You helped me without expecting anything, and that reminded me of what truly matters." The elderly woman stepped forward kindly. "He is telling the truth. And I must thank you. Not many people would open their doors so easily." That evening, Samir listened quietly as Aisha recounted everything. He leaned against the balcony railing, absorbing the unbelievable story. So the beggar was actually a billionaire, he said, shaking his head. Life really does write strange scripts. I don't know how to feel, Aisha admitted. Part of me feels foolish. Samir looked at her seriously. You shouldn't. You did what most people are too afraid to do. That says more about you than it does about him. Inside, Arif packed his small bag. Before leaving, he knelt beside Mehak. Keep practicing those math problems, he told her gently. And remember, being kind is always worth more than being rich. When he turned to Aisha, he handed her a simple envelope. Please open this after I leave. She watched from the balcony as the black car drove away, still unsure whether the past week had been real. Later that night, she finally opened the envelope. Inside was a handwritten note. Thank you for reminding me who I wanted to become. I won't forget what I learned here. Along with the note was a document establishing a scholarship fund for children in their neighborhood, placed under Aisha's name to manage. Tears filled her eyes, not because of the money, but because the small act she had done without thinking had quietly changed many lives, including her own. Across the hall, Samir watched the hallway light flicker as doors closed for the night. For the first time in years, he felt something unfamiliar but hopeful stirring inside him, the sense that kindness, even in the smallest apartment in the poorest street, could echo far beyond what anyone imagined.